Shalom, family. How is everybody doing? It's been a while since I did a video and I have a few to upload, but I've been fighting really bad allergies and being sick for about 2 weeks now. So yeah, I know he wanted me to get caught up in something, so I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of researching. And this video is called Why You Should Eat Fufu, because I've been on a journey health-wise and it's been a while coming, but I'm moving forward as one who's empowered with the information that I have. A lot of you may know that I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from the Twin Islands of Trinidad and Tobago, and I woke up and I was like, I bet we do a lot of things and we are closer to our culture than we realize. So I had an opportunity to go back since I've been awake, and we, at least on the islands of TNT, do so many things that are scriptural, but don't know why, like circumcising and things like that. We eat deaths for no one knows really the reason. We don't prefer for our single women to leave the house. So if they're not married, she may live with her parents all her life. I have some aunts who fit this bill, and we don't even know why we do it, but it's so that there's that element of protection. But that's not the reason for the video. So one of the things that we do that's related to this video, in the Caribbean, we wash everything. Everything. I see some people just throw meat into a pot. Even people who are supposedly Hebrews throw ground beef into a pot without washing it, and I'm just like, wash your meat, wash your meat. And we definitely season all of our food. Anyways, the change that I decided to embrace was going more African Caribbean in my diet. And I've looked at Dr. Sebi's plans. I like what he has to say. I'd say that I'm leaning more to being alkaline, but I think that it's something that we should naturally do anyways, and I'll explain that further. I mean, that I think that it's something that we naturally do if we embrace that diet. In the Caribbean and in Africa, they eat a lot of root vegetables, and these consist of yam. We're not talking like this kind. We're talking these big things. I had some and I cooked them. Yams, different types, cassavas, eddos, sweet potatoes, and again, not these kinds. They have different sweet potatoes than these. Some are really big and some are long, skinny, and purple. And we prefer to eat plantain. They call it plantain in the Caribbean, and we prefer it ripe, both boiled and fried. And most people don't know that there are several types of yam. They don't know that there are several types of sweet potato. And I prefer the one that's not the Jamaican yam, because the Jamaican yam tends to be bitter. And we boil the sweet potatoes in water and a little bit of salt, and we peel them and slice them and just eat them just like that. So it's yummy, yummy, yummy. Now, another thing that they do or eat a lot of in the Caribbean and in Africa is beans. Now, beans seem to cause people a lot of challenges, and it shouldn't be so. This isn't something that should cause challenges. Number one, to cook, and number two, to eat. So it shouldn't take you 2 to 3 hours to cook this. Right? They're simple black-eyed peas. They should not cause you a lot of time to cook. Now, I think that people aren't using things that we or our ancestors used to use to avoid discomfort, number one, and cooking time, number two. So in African culture, this is something they did, and they probably stopped, but should go back to. They used to put a little bit of potash in their beans. And it was not the same one that you would use to make soap. This is something that would help with digestion. So without knowing it, they made their beans alkaline, because a lot of lists say that beans are somewhat acidic. And in the Caribbean, what we did to ensure that beans cooked quickly is that we put a little bit of baking soda, like not even a full teaspoon, in the hot water when we were soaking the beans. And this cut the bean cooking time down in half. But what it also does is it neutralizes the bean so that it's easier on your digestion. Again, it makes the bean alkaline. So without knowing it, we were making alkaline diets without having all the science that now comes with this whole alkaline movement. It's hard to imagine that we were doing this, but we did it, and it caused us to have an alkaline system. And the next thing that we were known for, or have been known for besides our chicken, is our greens. We love our okra, dasheen bush, collard greens, kale, you name it. We love our greens. And in TNT, in Trinidad, we have a way of cooking it by simmering it with coconut milk. And I mean, we did use things like ham hocks and stuff, but if you don't use that, if you're awake, you know that you use the greens and you just simmer them with onions and spices and make a thing called kalaloo. We would serve that over our yams or our rice, or, you know, on a special occasion we would have macaroni pie, but we would make these greens. And this is something that we have to get back to. We have to get back to eating the greens and all the vegetables that come with it. We would also put pumpkin in it. Those are all alkaline things. These are all things that will help us get back to our normal diet, which is the diet that I'm talking about. Okay, so some new arrivals for me are millet, and I also have powder here, a flour form of amaranth. And I've been looking for fonio. I haven't found it yet, but I plan on finding this fonio and using it. Now, millet and fonio are similar to quinoa, but they are alkaline. They don't have any gluten in them. So again, we are back to us having alkaline diets. And if you look at the rice, I've seen the rice in the Nigerian store, and it's more like a wild rice. It looks dirty, quote unquote. And I'm sure if you tested that rice, it would probably come up alkaline, because we don't do the same things that they're doing in this area, in North America, to the food in the African continent. So I have tried the millet. I prefer the browner one, and I am going to be making things out of the amaranth. And when I find the fonio, I will be making stuff out of that as well. As much as we don't like to brag about these foods, the eros, the cassava, the dasheen, all those things, these foods are good for us. They are what our body is used to. The beans, they are what our body wants. The millet, all of those things. This is what we are used to. And I even found maize that we're supposed to use, maseca. It is, the kernels are soaked in lime. So they also become, what? Alkaline. It is really, really cool how, without knowing it, we're making things for our body. If we go back to the foods of our ancestors. Okay, now we come to the reason for the video, which is fufu. Fufu is a staple all over Africa, and it is called that in most countries as well. I find that really ironic, so starting to put connections together. Okay, we're all over Africa. Now, one can make fufu out of plantain, or as we say back home, plantain, yams, cassava, and sometimes they are even mixed. What one does to make fufu is an incredible feat. These root vegetables are cooked and then pounded with a large-sized mortar and pestle. It is definitely a two-person event. And the constant pounding makes the vegetables elastic magically. Eventually, a ball is formed and the fufu is separated into sections. It is then put into individual bowls and a light soup is poured on top, and meat and greens are also added, of course, okra. People have simplified the task by blending up the vegetables ahead of time and cooking it until it's elasticy, and also by using flour versions and adding water. That's the method that I tried, and I must tell you, any version of making fufu requires muscle. If you have a man in the house, enlist him. In many parts of the Caribbean, we also make a version of fufu with cornmeal, and it's called kuku. So we kept a lot of our traditions alive. And we also put okra in the kuku and serve it with fish and other things. Why should you eat fufu? It has no gluten. It is filling, and it is what our ancestors ate. I believe that if we ate more of our original foods, we would be able to fight some of the diseases that are plaguing us now. It was our slave-massa's desire to take away our food, and now we have the capability to go back to the foods that our bodies accept readily. And by the way, fufu and even kuku in the old days, I remember my grandmother doing this, and I did it too. It is eaten with the hands. It will change the way you think about food when you're eating it with your hands. Even the light soup is eaten with the hands. This is something that we need to learn again. So what am I staying away from? Fanatics. People who think they know everything, and it's not scriptural. For instance, a lot of people tell us that we shouldn't be eating or having milk or honey. Yet Yah told us that he was going to take us to a land flowing with milk and honey. So if milk and honey were bad for us, why would he tell us that we were supposed to go to a land flowing with milk and honey? What we need to inspect then is what honey we're eating, what milk we're drinking. The milk we know is contaminated. So say that. Don't say that we're not supposed to have milk. The honey, I believe in the US, is not pure honey. It's mixed with things. Well, I'm in Canada right now, and when I'm back home in Trinidad as well, we have raw honey. So I don't have a problem with that. So then say that. You're supposed to have raw honey. You're supposed to have raw milk. That's what you're supposed to say. You're not supposed to say that we're not supposed to have milk or honey. Then that makes Yah a liar. Say what you're supposed to say. Other people have said you can't have eggs. That's also not scriptural. There's the mother bird law. It's not even a passing thing. It's a law. It says if you come upon a mother bird and her young and she has eggs, do not take the mother bird. Let the mother bird go free. You can have the young and the eggs. Now, if Yah says as a law that we could have the eggs, that means we can eat eggs. What would we be doing them? Playing marbles? It doesn't make any sense. So we need to know the scriptures properly. Yes, Ezekiel said that we will be eating strange foods, so we need to understand that there is food out there that we're not supposed to eat. But the things that you're saying that we're not supposed to eat, it's not scriptural. Yah says we could have eggs. Yah says that we could have, if it's the right bird, Yah says we could have milk. Yah says we could have honey. We just need to know our source. We need to know our source. And also what a lot of people will not tell you is that fermented milk is alkaline. I'm going to put a lot of cogs in people's wheels. Fermented milk is alkaline. Fermented fruit, food, I'm talking like vegetables, those are all alkaline. So now what are you going to tell me? I can't have yogurt? Yes, I can. according to Scripture, I can have milk. According to the alkaline thing, I can have alkaline things, and yogurt is alkaline. So it's a whole lot of things. But anyways, what we need to get back to is the food that we used to eat, and fruit with seeds that is non-GMO if you possibly can, because people are saying you've got to be vegetarian, but not knowing that the GMO food that they're putting in their body is mixed with all kinds of other weird animals. So they're eating an all vegetarian diet and buying the food from Walmart. It doesn't make any sense. We've got to open our eyes as people. Okay, so there you have it. I myself am also moving towards eating more vegetables. However, I'm not completely removing the meat from my diet. Why? Because I'm not able to grow only my own food at this present moment in time. So I know I'm not in a place where the food is beautiful. So I have to still substitute some things. I'm moving towards alkalinity. I'm using grapeseed and coconut oil, a little bit of olive, and I'm starting to feel like I'm making progress. Like I said, I'm not being a fanatic about the whole thing. I am just going by what I feel the Bible is telling me, and doing some research on our ancestors and what they used to eat, remembering what I used to eat as a kid, and getting used to some foods like the millet that I've never had before, and really expanding my horizons when it comes to the foods that I'm putting into my mouth. Like, did you know that an eggplant actually is about this big? It's the size of an egg. It looks like an egg. They call them garden eggs. What we're eating is a hybrid. We have to start doing research on our foods. We have to start wondering, how come this looks like this? Why is this strawberry this large? We have to start watching what we put in our mouths and making sure our food has seeds and that we're returning to the foods of our ancestors. So maybe I'll be taking you along on some of the cooking journeys. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what Yah tells me to do. All right, until next time, shalom, shalom.